What up, everybody? Big Herc 916 and my man Geoff Brown with NTC. You already know what that means. I ain't even got to tell y'all. Who do we have here today, Geoff?
Mr. Shant Mesophagia. Now, that name probably escapes you for right now. But the cat we're talking about today is not just a guy who makes cars better, not just a guy who collects cars. This cat has a time capsule, a perfect time capsule of the late 80s, early 90s cars. When, where, why, and how. This is a great damn story. You're not gonna hear a story like this about nobody else's funky little cars. This dude, I don't care where you watch, what you watch, you are not going to see a show like this one today.
Shant, tell the people, man, about how you got into cars, your shop, what you do here, because this place, it just blows my mind. I could be here all day listening to your stories, man.
Definitely. First of all, I want to thank you guys. You know, I appreciate you guys coming to talk to me, and you guys are always welcome to my home. You know how that works.
Good thing. What a pain in the ass to come down here with all these raggedy ass cars. It's killing me. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, man. Well, the way I got into cars, man, it's always been in my family, in my blood. You know, my uncle was a race car driver, a stock car driver in the 70s, and both him and my younger uncle, they came down here to the United States in the early 70s, and they wanted basically to be part of the automotive culture. You know, it was a huge thing in the United States at the time. So they landed in Boston. They worked at my cousin's Oldsmobile dealer there, and they gathered money. My uncle bought a 442 Oldsmobile in '72, and they drove it down to California, came to Los Angeles. They opened up their first body shop, and the rest is history. They just started working on cars, fixing, restoration, etc. Me growing up, I've always been around cars. I worked on cars, my brothers have worked on cars, my dad worked on cars. We basically just started out at home doing our own restoration. In the summers, I used to go to my uncle's shop, help him out. So, you know, it was kind of part of my DNA in a sense. And I truly enjoy what I do. You know, it's a passion of mine. It gets to a point sometimes in your life where you think, okay, am I doing this for the money? Am I doing this because I got nothing else going for me? Or am I doing this because I'm passionate about it? Mm-hmm. And that's exactly why I did it. You know, it's just, I love it, man.
Now, speaking of your collection, was it something that you just set out to have? How many of these cars did you go, that's gonna be worth a bunch of money? That one I just love. And the reason I ask is because all the cars you have are all the cars I freaking love. Like I love the notchback Mustang. I love the wide body Mustang. I love the 560 convertible, and they just happen to be worth a lot of money. But how did you come across those cars, and was that on purpose?
You know, the way I came across these cars, I love all types of cars, shapes, colors, styles, the whole nine. But growing up, and this is going way back, when I was 4 or 5 years old, I used to go to work with my mom in the summers. And my parents were working class, hardworking people. And till this day, I go visit them, and they're out doing something. It's just the way they are. So we had one family car. My dad used to take that to work, and my mom and me used to take the bus. She worked at Beverly Hills at the time, so we used to commute with the bus from the Valley to Beverly Hills. And every week I had $1 allowance to go buy one car from Toys R Us. Either I could buy 2 cheap ones for 50 cents or buy the nice 98-cent Hot Wheels.
Right.
So every week that was my treat. So I used to take these cars with me when I used to go to work with her as we're driving in the bus, and I used to like hold the car literally from the window and pretend like I'm driving. So growing up as a kid and watching all these cars from the bus window, AMGs, Porsches, BMWs, Ferraris, the whole nine. It's just, I used to sit there and stare at these cars like they're spaceships. So when I used to go to Toys R Us to buy my toy, I used to want to buy that Mercedes or that Porsche. I used to look on the shelves, and I still own those cars. That's actually the first box of toys I ever got in the original case.
Wow.
And I used to keep them pristine, clean them up, put them back in the case. So growing up, this is what I saw. And they weren't our cars, but they were cars that I used to see. And then, you know, you had the shows like Miami Vice. Yep. You had all these Spencer for Hire. Yep. You know, he used to have that 635 with the BBS style wheel.
Yes. Man Called Hawk.
Man Called Hawk. So, you know, and you look at these shows, and by the way, I love the bad guys. They all had like the hot girls, the hot cars.
Right.
Like, you know.
The bad guys
the bad guys had it all, right? So I used to look at these cars and be like, wow, like I want one. You know, when I grow up, this is what I want. So when, of course, I got to an age where, you know, I started to work and save money, I slowly started to collect parts, and I used to go to wrecking yards. You know, back in the day, you know, 15, 20 years ago, AMG Mercedes, or you used to see them at pick-apart, just thrown.
Yes.
Nobody wanted them. I used to see like AMG wheels, Lorenzo wheels,
just laying at the
junkyard. So I started collecting these over the years because I knew this is gonna come back around. It's just too nice.
Exactly.
If people were spending thousands and thousands of dollars on this stuff in the 80s, how is it just thrown in the junkyard now? It's got to come back around. So that's how I kind of started. You know, I started looking for cars that were already done, complete disasters, restoration. So I slowly started to gather them, fix them up, put them aside. I used to sell them. You know, it was kind of like a hobby for me while I was running the business. Then it got to a point where, you know, I started to get real passionate about, especially like the pre-merger AMG stuff, you know, and nobody cared about it. Nobody really, you know, paid attention to it. But I collected out of passion. I didn't collect out of investment. I never said to myself, this is going to be worth a ton of money in the future. I bought things that I loved and that were special to me. It could have been the certain smell in the car that reminded me as a kid. It could have been a certain car that I remember that was embedded in my mind as a kid that I saw, that I said, this is what I want when I grow up. So that's how I kind of started collecting. One car led to two to three. Now I'm up to like almost 70 cars in my collection.
Damn.
All the cars that I have, they do have something special that attracted me to them. My passion, of course, is Mercedes, pre-merger AMG, all the 80s tuners, Gambala, AMG, Lorenzo, Richard Strawman. You know, these are the cars that really interested, and I was interested in having in my collection. And the rest is history, man.
I know we were talking, you know, off camera about the 80s, man, and about how, you know, you've seen certain people with these cars back then, whether it's, I remember, what is the Porsche DP, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Or, like you said, the Strosek or the Gambala.
The Rough.
Or the Rough. Or, you know, the Koenig, you know, Ferrari. Yeah. I mean, these cars were, you know, I used to look in like Motor Trend and little magazines and be like, man, and it's like, you knew that these guys were real dudes. These were hitters. It wasn't just like fly-by-night dudes who can go pick these cars up. These guys had a lot of money. They drove the shit out of these cars, and it was a symbolism of that time to me, like, you're at the top of the game. You know, if you see a dude in a Gambala, you're like, God, this dude, he don't just have a Porsche, he has a Gambala, or he has a, you know, the Strawman version of this car that came in the Herc. They didn't even make that in a convertible.
Right.
So I used to search out those cars too and be like, man, one day I'm gonna get a Strawman. One day I'm gonna have a 560 SEC Hammer. You know, people think, you know, the Hammer to me, I'm like, oh, what is this? And when I seen Hammer, I'm like, oh my God, Mercedes.
It's the real deal.
Real deal. It's like, you can't, even the Goldwing, like you got the Goldwing, dude, you seen that in like a German auto magazine. I remember looking at that like, what is this? You know, it was just mind blowing, man. So to see you have a lot of these 80s cars, it brings back so many memories because, you know, not to get off topic, I mean, I looked at all the drug dealers in my neighborhood, and they all were,
what I mean? Oh yeah, they all had the hot stuff, and that's what it was. Like, the 80s and 90s, there was so much money out there that they wanted the next thing above the 560, the V12, the best Mercedes, the Porsche. They wanted something over and beyond. Like one of my cars that's like the epitome of 80s drug dealer money, or I should say disposable money, is the Gullwing SEC that I have. I have 2 of them, and they only made 57 of them. The company that made it was out of Germany called SGS Styling Garage. Chris Hahn, the CEO owner, he's a friend of mine. We communicate, and I asked him when I bought my first one. I said, what led you to take a SEC that's perfection, was the top of its game back in the 80s, being the pillarless coupe flagship of Mercedes. What made you take a pillarless coupe and turn it into a Gullwing? He said simply because people wanted more than what Mercedes had to offer, what AMG had to offer.
Wow.
Wide body, Hammer, whatever you can think of, people wanted more. So he goes, we took the best coupe at the time, the SEC, and we constructed a frame and made it a Gullwing like a DeLorean, which completely blew everything else out of the water. So now you have your guys in your AMGs, your Lorenzers, your wide body cars, your, you name it, Richard Strawman convertible, the whole nine. I got 6 Richard Strawman convertible SECs. I got 1 SGS convertible, which is ultra rare. These are the same guys that did the Gullwing. And he said when we introduced this Gullwing, it just destroyed everything else out there. Completely.
Right.
It was like, oh my God,
right.
You can't imagine.
You might as well have drove a bus. You might as well have rode the bus.
Just go home. Just go home. It's done. So he goes,
what were people paying back then for that? It had to be, goddamn, you had to be a super baller.
So my car in 1984, done through SGS, sold for $185,000.
Right.
That was the price on the car.
84 money, that's
in
crazy.
84. This is, the car, the modification. It has a AMG kit, the AMG Penta wheels, Recaro white leather seats.
Wow.
All the stereo system, the equalizers, the whole nine. And he goes, we used to get orders, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, there's, he goes, we used to send them 2 at a time, 3 at a time.
Wow.
He goes, at 57, we kind of stopped production. The States, and don't hold me to this, I think they got like 8 or 10 of them only at the States. I own 2 of them. There's 1 more in Miami. There's a few more floating around. But I found my car in Palm Springs. I was chasing this car down for many years. It was originally sold in Miami. Wonder why? You know what I mean about that? White on white Gullwing. So it sold in Miami, and then after Miami, there was a dealer called Auto Saloon 2000 at the time.
Yeah.
I think I heard of that.
I remember that.
In Miami, and then it sold. It went to New York for a short period of time, and then it came to San Francisco, and then it was off the grid. And then the car somehow ended up in Palm Springs.
Always well kept?
Well, this is the story on the car. I was searching for this car for many years. I knew about it. I knew that it was on the West Coast. And a friend of mine one day, he comes to me and he goes, that Mercedes that you always talk about, I think I saw the car in Palm Springs. I was there with my family driving through whatever, and I saw it in a garage. I said, well, white Mercedes, Gullwing doors. I'm like, was it an older Gullwing? I thought maybe the old 57.
Yeah,
stuff.
right.
He said, no, this is like the 80s, I said, where did you see it? He goes, listen, I don't remember the address, but they were VRBOing a house there, and it was literally down the street. He goes, I just remember there's a Cadillac or an Escalade in front. Okay.
That's all I need.
Same weekend, I jumped in the car, went there, started going through the streets. I found the car.
Oh shit.
The guy happened to be a great guy. At the time, he was kind of like, wasn't sure if he wanted to sell it or not. And I ended up, we became friends. We kept contact, and then one day he said, "I'm getting ready to sell it," and boom, I was there in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was trying to sell the car for a while. Apparently, it was on consignment, and nobody wanted it for whatever reason. So it was kind of like meant to be. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is, I bought the car, happy, towed it down here, beautiful, runs good, it's all there. How he ended up with the car was, it was owned by a doctor that was based out of San Francisco, and that's how it makes sense where this is the car that landed in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. They brought the car to him. This guy was a fabricator, so he wanted to do like a semi-restoration, kind of give the car a refresher, and the guy disappeared. He goes, 2 years later, I just finally put a lien sale on the car. I ended up keeping the car.
Oh, wow.
He owned the car for about 6 or 7 years, and I ended up buying it. So I bring this car home, and I have a friend of mine. His name is Ace. Great guy. He's been collecting Mercedes parts for many years. He lives in Inglewood. He's got a warehouse full of older Mercedes parts that I usually contact. I mean, we became buddies now. So, and this guy knows everything about Mercedes. I mean, you ask him anything about Mercedes, he knows it. And I said, Ace, come over to the back. I want to show you something special. So I take him over to the back, pulled the covers off. I said, take a look at this, man. He goes, damn, where'd you get that? I said, well, this and this and that. He goes, that's an SGS convertible. I said, I bet you never seen one of these. He goes, oh yeah, I have. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I've seen them. I said, when did you see one? He goes, I have one.
Oh, wow.
I said, what? I said, you own an SGS going SEC? He goes, yep. I said, why haven't you told me about it? He goes, well, you never asked.
Oh, wow.
I said, where's the car? He goes, it's at my house in Inglewood. It's right here. I said, you got to be kidding me. I closed the shop down. I said, let's go. I want to see this thing. So sure enough, went over there. He opens the garage, and there it is, man. Another SGS.
Oh my God!
So you got that one too?
So I said, well, I'm buying this one too. I said, I'm not leaving till I buy this car.
Right.
And I ended up buying that one as well.
Wow, man.
So,
2 going. That's incredible.
Yeah, that's an 85. It's one of the last series they made. Mm-hmm. So the doors are hydraulic. You press the button, it goes up hydraulically. Just that one needs restoration. But I mean, you look at these cars. I mean, I take it to dinner with my wife, and I don't, I don't care where I go. I park the car, pop the doors open, it's done.
You can't pick your nose.
No, it's a wrap.
I mean, I don't care what you pull up in. This thing's gonna cause so much attention. It's unbelievable, and the car is just built unbelievably amazing. Super solid car, beautiful construction. They did gorgeous work to it. It's got a full AMG kit. I mean, I don't think you've seen it.
I haven't seen it. I
gotta bring that out one day.
Yeah.
It's truly a special car.
Well, I think what the 80s, and to compliment you, what you represent, is the same thing that happened in technology. The same thing happened in music, is that there was a point where technology and know-how were at their peak, and then technology started to get so far past to where you didn't need that much know-how.
Exactly.
Right there is where these cars are. Where one, you had to have a lot of money and know what you were doing to get a hold of a car. Two, you had to know what you were doing and have a lot of expertise to get Porsche, Mercedes. Give me another mark. Porsche, Mercedes, BMW.
Yeah.
To say,
BMW.
you Klaus Edinburgher, you AMG, you Gimbala can work on our cars.
Right.
You had to know what you were doing, and you had to know that there was a clientele that was expecting this, and there was no CAD drawing. There was these cars are put together by artisans.
Right.
And I think
truly handcrafted.
Yes.
Handcrafted.
Handmade cars, or the best mass-produced cars in the world, turned over to people who hand make cars.
Yeah.
That's what that represents.
And I also have a Koenig SEC, and you look at the wide body, how flamboyant, how out there. I mean, you got 13.
You got a Koenig SEC too?
Yeah, and it's just unbelievable you look at the car till today, and it's just so empowering. It just grabs you. You know what I mean? And you think about this car back in 1985
How
when
that
it
looked
was
on the road.
new
Oh
on the
my
road.
God.
Like
It's like a
it's
spaceship.
like a spaceship.
It's almost like, remember, because they put a Koenig on a Ferrari, but I remember the Koenig Jag. And when you
I have
see
one
that,
too. I got a Koenig Jag.
come on, yeah,
I got a
man,
Koenig SEC.
this is getting out of control right here, man.
You know what this guy
This
has?
dude has every car that I used to drool over in my little.
Everyone. You know what Shant has that he won't be honest about? A hole in time that he's going back.
Yeah, literally.
I mean, look at these cars. These
Yeah.
cars.
Oh,
his
man.
cars look like 1980 whatever. They look like all
Dude,
these
that's-
cars look like they would have if somebody gave them to.
Now, don't tell me you have a Koenig 928.
That I don't. I was getting this close to
I'm about
buying
to
one.
say, man, you gotta get. I'm gonna have to buy that from you.
I was gonna show you the one that I wanted. I couldn't get to it in time, but what a beautiful example! It's sold in Miami. There's some guys out there, RMC or RMC Miami, that have some beautiful cars that they do. Again, they're into this whole 80s, 90s time capsule.
Wow.
So they had a red 928 wide body on Borbette wheels. Just
Corvettes.
gorgeous car, but I couldn't get to it. But the 928 that I want is made by SGS. They made one with a wide body kit with gull-wing doors.
Yeah.
I've seen that
I've
with
seen
the
that
pictures.
one.
That's the
I've
one I
never
want.
seen it in
There's
person.
one floating around in Japan somewhere, which I'm chasing.
Red.
It's black
Okay.
with red interior. Unbelievable car.
That's my all-time favorite, man. Ever since when first off Risky Business, and then Scarface when he went in a dealership. Remember, he's
that's-
like, give me
I
this
like
one,
it.
gun.
I like it. Give me
he's
one of
like,
these.
Yeah.
One of these. I like it.
You know, that was the hot car back then. That
Yeah.
was 928.
Yeah. So, Sean, what would be considered pre-AMG Mercedes merger? What years would that be?
So AMG was its own entity, and they were basically taking these cars and they were customizing them. AMG also had a division in Japan where they worked on a lot of Mitsubishi cars. Like they have a Mitsubishi Galant, which is tuned by AMG, and it was basically aerodynamics, wheels, suspension, engine, interior, kind of like a couture build. You can kind of build the car accordingly to what you want as a checklist. In the 80s and 90s, they were kind of at their peak in what they were doing. And they built some phenomenal cars that were breaking records, whether it was with speed, with performance, etc. Looks very, very sexy, very functional aerodynamics. Till today, I think they have one of the most beautiful wheel selections that were just simple and effective.
Sure.
Offsets, rivets, two-piece, three-piece, etc. So AMG was doing very well in what they were putting together. Mercedes kind of saw what was going on, and they saw that, okay, this is becoming very attractive. See, Mercedes was always known for that luxury car, that car meant for the person in a suit and a tie. It never had the sports car appeal. The sportiest car they had was probably the SL Mercedes, which was the two-door roadster, hardtop, soft-top car. But still, it was a very cushy, comfortable wood, leather, you know. So AMG basically took that and they gave it the performance factor. They made it more aggressive on suspension, handling, wheels, looks, etc. And Mercedes saw that there's something there. So they merged in 1995. The first car that they actually built together was the C36 Mercedes. So what pre-merger means is all cars that were built before the merger.
Okay.
And to me, that's when AMG was AMG. That's when they really took it seriously in what they do. Nowadays, AMG is a joke. You know.
What about
But-
Rentec?
So Rentec was an employee of AMG. So Rentec kind of branched off on his own and did his own thing. Again, very talented people, very knowledgeable of what he's doing, and very performance driven. Aerodynamics wise, they don't really have much. It's mainly just the performance factor of it. Very popular tuner through the 90s up until, to date. They built Rentec cars. But these people like Rentec and a few others, these were all employees of AMG at the time that kind of branched off on their own, because once Mercedes came into the game in '95, they completely changed the way AMG does business, and that's when those old timers kind of went off on their own.
What are some of the changes when you say you don't like it now? Like how so?
So, to me, what AMG used to stand for is pure performance. It was truly meant for someone that wants a special Mercedes-Benz. It wasn't a marketing tool. It wasn't meant to mass produce and sell and lease however many cars they can. So if you were a true enthusiast that loved Mercedes but just wanted a performance level of Mercedes, you went to AMG.
Right.
And nowadays the difference is there's certain models that still stick to their roots, but now everything that you see out there, C-Class, A-Class, B-Class, has an AMG tag on it, and they're labeling it AMG. But to me, it's not about a chrome little decal that says AMG.
It used to be about more than decals and key rings.
It's exactly. It's supposed to be about a true performance vehicle, a car meant for an enthusiast. And if they had kept it, if they kept their roots, I'm sure they would sell just as many cars to the right person that wants that performance, that wants the looks, wants the leather trim, wants the exhaust, wants the special wheels, and that's why I think that now it's just become a mass produced. It's a numbers game. How many cars can we sell?
Right.
And it's sad, but that's just the way it's become.
Well, I think what has happened is. And consumerism, the media, has all played into this.
100%.
We've gotten to a place where everybody thinks they're special.
Yeah.
And you're not. Everybody's not special.
Participation
Everybody
trophy.
doesn't deserve, everybody don't deserve a trophy for showing up.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to feel like, because I want a Mercedes, I deserve an AMG. But there's nobody, and this is what society used to do. Well, why? They can't tell you why.
Right.
I just want it.
Right.
And I got enough money for it. I can't tell you any history about it. I can't tell you why I love it. I just want this particular mark on my car so people will envy me at a stoplight.
Right.
That's not what it used to be, and I get that. That's one of the things that really makes me like your car collection. Is because, well, again, maybe the 80s and 90s was the time for cars for me. But you have all the cars that I used to take a razor blade and cut out a European car magazine.
And that's exactly what I used to do. I used to literally have a collage of all the cars I want and all the cars that I like. I still have the magazines that I used to buy when I was a kid. And sometimes I flip through them and I see, I'm pretty sure, like Automobile Magazine, the back end of it had like a classified section.
Rob Report.
Report. I got stacks of Rob Reports, and the reason why I keep that is because it's great for research, and I might run across a car that was sold one time in the States. So it's always good to have as a reference. But my goal was to collect all the tuner cars of the 80s. Like with Mercedes, I have a bunch of AMG pre-merger cars, 3 of them which are wide body, Zender wide body SEC, Koenig wide body SEC, and with these cars, it's like their imagination when they were building these cars was like completely out there.
Yeah, it was limitless.
Anything goes, limitless.
Sure.
And that's kind of what I like. I don't like having limits.
What do you think about the Black Series?
Black Series is probably one of the only true AMG cars I feel that are AMG.
That's what I think too. The Black Series is different.
Just any of the Black Series cars is what AMG used to stand for.
Yes.
Wide body, performance, brakes, wheels, interior, just the works. That's what an AMG should be.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Black Series cars is the 211 chassis, the CLK.
Yeah.
Black Series.
Yeah, Black Series. I like those too.
And it's just, out of the box.
Yeah.
It's a factory race car.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that Hammer, pillarless coupe, wide body, big motor.
Yes.
That's what it was about. You know.
So for somebody out there looking to like have work done on their car and find somebody of your caliber to get work done, what kind of advice could you give them? Because man, you know, every car I've had to do twice, just because, you know, certain guys say they can do this and maybe the shop looks like this, but you find out later on when you take it to another shop that this guy did this weld wrong, your brake lines aren't done right, or this is done janky. I mean,
find out why you got the deal.
Yeah, and it wasn't. Sometimes it's not even a deal. I've been at nice shops and it's like, oh, $800. I'm like, what'd you do? Well, we connected those wires. You know, so it's like, how do you avoid a lot of these pitfalls? Because a lot of people we talked about before spend a lot of money and thinking just because you spend a lot of money, dude, you're getting ripped off. This ain't even. You're not paying for what you're getting. You
know, it's very hard to judge nowadays, because everybody wants to be something they're not. And they always, you know, you say, you go look at the work they did, you go look at some cars that they've built to kind of get an idea of what they do. But those old school guys, those guys that have been in the game for years, those are the guys that know what they're doing. Now, there's a lot of things I learn every day. You know, you learn new things. Every situation is different. You know, not only do we do restoration, but I have a division that does collision on everything else, and every day is a learning experience. You know, but the best advice that I can give someone in regards to going to a shop that's going to give you what you pay for, give you the value that you're going to pay for, is talk to some people that have been there before, that have done work by these people, and see how they feel, you know. And I always say, let the bread maker make the bread. You know, you got to go to the specialist. You can't go to the guy that does it all. It doesn't exist. You know,
he does it all shitty.
Exactly, exactly. If you want to do suspension, you go to the suspension guy. You want to do the interior, you go to a specific interior guy. We do full-blown restoration, okay? And people come and say, oh, do you do everything in-house? I say, no, I don't. I take the interior to the interior guy that I've honed out from years of experiencing other people. This is my guy that I can trust. Same thing with suspension. Same thing with, you know, chroming. You know, I've tried so many people throughout the years. Finally, I find the guy that satisfies what I do. Now, are they the cheapest necessarily? No.
Almost, of course not.
But I rather do something once, do it right, and not deal with it anymore. And this is the mistake people make. They automatically go to the price house. They automatically go to the person that's doing it the cheapest. And that specifically, if you're looking for that specifically, sometimes you're gonna fail. You know. And I tell all my clients, listen, I'm not the cheapest guy in town. I'm reasonable, but I'll give you what you want. And guess what? If I screw up, I'll fix it. If I do something wrong, I'll correct it. But you know, we've been in business for 41 years, family business, and I've seen it all. We've been through it all. You've experienced it all. But again, every day you learn something new. And the best advice that I have is referral. Go to someone that's been there before, that's experienced the service, the quality, and what you get, and you won't be disappointed. Because if you go, I mean, with all the social media and stuff, everybody's doing restoration, everybody's doing building, everybody's
throwing that word around,
everyone's an engine builder. So, you know, you have to really go to the people that specialize in that certain thing, you know.
Now, how realistic is a lot of times what, you know, people see on TV? Because I watch a lot of stuff and I'm looking like, come on, man, you got to be kidding me. You know, when people are pricing out bills or they're saying you can get this done for this price, and then you have a show where, oh man, this is a $250,000 bill, and I'm looking underneath.
That we did in a week.
Well, or even if he did it, took a year, but he's like, he's got leaf springs and drums in the back, but you spend come on, buddy.
You know what you see on TV is purely entertainment, man. I've seen car builders. There's many out there that are amazing, and many of them that are out of the spotlight. These people work at home in their garage, highly talented cats. But these people that are on the TV tube, you see the work they do. You know, you can't take something out of the shithole and give it back to the guy in 7 days and have them tear up like, oh, it doesn't work,
Oh my
man.
God.
It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
That's a show.
You can't do that if you hit Powerball.
You can't.
It's not a money
It's
thing.
not going to happen. I mean, just, and again, you know.
Realistically, typically, a restoration, because I worked on a lot of cars, I tell people a year and a half. Minimal.
I would say a year is a good time for
Right.
a restoration. Of course, depending on what you're working on. If you're
Parts,
restoring a Mura, it's one thing. But, you know, a year typically is roughly where it's at.
On a production car.
On a production car.
Yeah.
Considering the shop that you're working with has other restorations they're working on, it's not only yours. But typically about a year is about a decent time for a full A to Z restoration.
Then what about a custom build?
Custom build, man, there's really no time limit depending on what you want. I mean, we've done custom builds that have taken up to 2 years.
Okay.
Because again, it's a pure art form. And believe it or not, it's true. There's days you feel like working on the car and days you don't.
Yeah.
That's just the
And
reality
you're not
of it.
making donuts.
Exactly.
I tell people this all the time. First off, if you're going to complain about, if you want a cheap hobby, watch birds.
Yeah.
This is not the hobby that on any level you can complain about. If you love cars and you're on a budget, get GT5. Get an Xbox, get a nice TV, and you're good to go. But you don't get into taking apart a car if you're concerned about the fact that, damn, the rubber is going to cost me $4,000. Yeah, this stuff's not cheap. It's not a cheap hobby.
You're absolutely right.
Would you now? Let's just say I wanted a white 560 SEC convertible with a honey leather interior, and I was looking for one. Am I better off finding a rough SEC and bringing it to you? Or should I just wait for that car? Maybe I happen upon somebody who has a whole bunch of cars, so he may not be that attached to that one because he has a menagerie of them. What would you say?
So it depends on your build. See, all my cars, they're completely period correct, all with original AMG, original,
Right.
Lorenzer, Zender, etc. I scour
The earth.
the earth for these parts. I've brought parts in from every single country you can think of putting these cars together. So if you do want a true period correct build, I mean, I look at date stamps on wheels. So if it's an 87 car, it's got 87.
Oh, that's
Wow.
So I kind of take it to another level for my cars because I have the time to do that. You know,
Right.
I enjoy doing it. The whole thing for me is searching for the part. It's very easy for me. I'm in the business. There's tons of people that can make parts out of fiberglass, carbon fiber, metal fabrication. I mean, and you'll probably manufacture it better than the way it was made in the 80s.
Right.
You know, but it's not original for me. You know, every single AMG part that I have on my cars has an AMG stamp, has a production number, has a date stamp, the whole nine. The wide body fenders have AMG stamps. The inner, you know, everything's authentic. That's what kind of turns me on personally.
I got a question then.
Yeah, I got a couple questions too. Yeah, hit it.
So if I found a 560 SEC and I said, hey, Sean, I want to put a wide body with an LS in it, would you do that for me?
We can make it happen. We're actually in the process of building a few wide bodies, all steel wide bodies.
Okay.
We're not going fiberglass or carbon fiber. We're building them all steel.
So you're not offended by swapping motors? Because
Not
some
at all.
people say, oh,
No.
leave my office.
Right.
No.
Be gone.
I'm not one of those purist guys.
Okay.
You know, listen, I do all kinds of stuff for my clients. LS motors and late model Mercedes stuff. I mean, for me, I love doing it. Period.
However you want to play with your toy.
Exactly. If you're willing to spend the money and you have a vision, I will make that vision a reality for you. Now, I'm not going to tell you if it's not original Mercedes AMG or Lorenzer or Gambala, I'm not going to touch it. No, I'm realistic.
Okay.
Just for me, for my personal, I don't say, you know, what turns me on is having what was made in 87 on my 87 car.
Right,
That's
right.
just what I
That's your thing.
I guess I get off on it. I don't know. I just that's like, you know, when I receive the part and everything's there and date code, part numbers, the whole 9 yards, it just, you know, it excites me.
That's your thing, man. Now,
it's my thing. So
of that, this is a two-part question. One, what has been the hardest part you've ever found? And two, where is it that you find most of your parts? And I guess three, where is a place that surprised you? Like, really? They had this in Turkey? Okay. Yeah.
you know,
so one, yeah.
Honestly, the hardest part that I found was probably I have a brand new unused SEC full wide body kit for an SEC that's just absolutely brand new, never been installed, never touched. The quarter panels are steel with the AMG stamps, the whole nine.
Wow.
I found several sets, like ones from Russia. I found some in, you know, everywhere, just gathered pieces. This particular kit I found in Germany. It was sitting in someone's garage and in the boxes, just completely untouched. And that was probably, I'm not going to say the hardest, because it wasn't hard. It was kind of brought to my attention that these are parts, but contacting the person, communicating with the person, getting the parts over here in its original packaging and boxing, that was the most difficult part, because I didn't want to damage anything. Now, I'll probably never install that kit on a car because I haven't heard of anybody else that has everything: bumpers, side skirts, front lip, rear lip, quarter panel, fenders, the cladding, the whole kit.
Do you know where I think that would, and I don't know if you'll ever do it, but imagine like a big warehouse, all your cars, suspended above it in mathematically exactly where it would go on the car, 15 feet in the air, hanging from the ceiling, are all those parts.
So what I want to do with that, and that's funny you say that, there was an ad back in the 80s, an AMG ad, where they took the body kit, the wheels, the suspension, the two Recaro seats, and they kind of made it kind of like
that before.
Yeah,
Magazine picture.
So I would want to
without the car.
I would want to everything but
without
the car.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Every single part that they offered was
but the car, right?
But the car,
Yeah.
and that's what I was thinking, and I'm like, that would be cool, man, if I just put it in a glass case.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of my
Man, that would be so sick.
Paint it, clean it up really nice, or even leave it like raw fiber, and just kind of put them on some sort of pedestals with the rims and the suspension, the head, you know,
mathematically right where they go,
just right on the money, and do something like that.
That would be so sick.
That'd be pretty nice.
That would be so sick. Well, dude, let's go look at some cars.
Hey, let's go do it.
So, Shant, this is one that you actually did all the work to, or
Correct.
refurbished. Now, what condition was it in when you found it, and exactly what all did you do?
So the car was already a convertible by Richard Strawman, but it was pretty much a bone stock, white on Palomino SEC with a black top.
Okay.
The owner of the car kept it really nice. Mechanically, it was all intact. But the car was originally an East Coast car. It actually came from the Hamptons, and it was their summer car. So with the weather and the salt water in there, it you know, the interior, the wood, the paint was kind of was aged. But the car was all there. It was complete. Everything was functioning, and that's when I acquired the car. And when I acquired the car, it was originally two tones. It was white, and the bottom of the cladding was like a light gray.
A light gray, yeah.
That's kind of how they came with the Palomino. And when it was fitted with the AMG kit, they completely body matched all the spoilers and cladding. So what I did to the car was the complete interior, redid it in the Recaro Classic leather wrap dash, redid all the wood, all the electronics, brand new top, you know, suede with brand new canvas top. The body kit's completely period correct to 87. The wheels are completely period correct to 87. Everything's date coded. And there's a lot of kits out there that are fiberglass, rubber. I mean, this is the real deal. And you can see all the AMG stamping, the part numbers, date codes, everything's on there.
Now this is a urethane kit, right?
This is a urethane kit.
Okay.
Yeah, AMG made them in urethane.
Okay. Boys and girls, for those of you who don't know, urethane is the big brother, or excuse me, the little brother. For those of you who don't know, urethane is the little brother to fiberglass. All of fiberglass's mistakes, hard to work with, got to have the temperature right, cracks, smooth, all of that's done away with urethane. But you better know what the hell you're doing when you deal with it.
Now, what makes this ultra rare as far as the body kit, if you look at the bumpers, these are Euro bumpers, but for the Series 2 cars.
Okay.
So Series 1, you got from 81 to 85. They came American, or they came the Euro bumpers, which are real small.
Smaller.
So
right.
from 86 to 91, Euro cars came with this bumper, which is about 3/4 of an inch longer than the Euro. So it's basically in between the Euro bumper and the US bumper, which is period correct for the 560. These bumpers are impossible to find unless you have a connection somewhere overseas, because these cars aren't on the road anymore. And when people look at the car, they know something's different. They know it's got the Euro bumpers, but it's not the American bumpers, but it's somewhere in between. And that's what makes it special. So if you look at it from a glimpse, it just, the whole car just sits right with the bumpers, the body kit, the stance, the wheels, the offset, the whole 9 yards.
You know what it looks is fresh.
Yes.
From this place. A lot of aftermarket body kits, a lot of aftermarket parts. They look great when you put them on a car for 3 months.
Right.
When the seasons change
Then
and
they
this thing
start-
goes through hot and cold,
Then they start falling apart.
Sure.
They, you know, the way they're mounted onto the car isn't proper, and
Right.
they're you know,
it starts to show.
it starts to show. A lot of the body kits, I mean, I experience it now. I have customers bringing me body kits. Yes, it's the body kit. Yes, it looks like a certain, you know, AMG, AC Snitzer, whatever, but there's no mounting brackets. How do you mount this? How do you put it on the car? It's just a shell.
How does it live on the car?
How does it live on the car? Then that's when you get into making custom bracketry, you know, custom sliders, and it's just, it's never right. When you're dealing with the original, they literally, especially German engineering, you know, they took the original bumper and they copied exactly the way it harnesses onto the car, except it's got a body kit on it.
Right.
Which is
The right way to do it.
The right way to do it, yeah.
And how long has this car been in this condition?
I finished this car about 4 years ago.
See, that's exactly
about 4 years ago.
That's what I'm getting.
And I drive the car. I don't trailer it. I mean, I take care of it, but you know, these cars are meant to be driven.
Okay, what did you drive to work today?
I actually brought my wife's wagon, the one that's
the red
there.
wagon.
Yeah,
the little red wagon.
Yeah, I had an event to go with the Mustang with, so I put that inside and I took the Mustang. But yeah.
Have you took this car to Monterey yet?
No.
Dude, you got to take this to Monterey, man.
Yeah. You know, I've been wanting to take it on a road trip because the car just drives. You'll see when we go around the block. It's just so comfortable, man. It's
Have you
unbelievable.
been to Pebble Beach?
Oh, yeah, many times.
Yeah,
Many
this
times.
car, like I said, this is, because like you said, out of everybody trying to bring the richest, if you want something unique, and not
Yeah.
everybody can get one of these. So this is like among a crowd, this is like...
That's why I tell people, like, what I do and what I love doing is things in this caliber where it's truly special. Anybody can, you know, you can go buy a brand new car, put a brand new body kit and brand new wheels on it and lower it and do this, but it's not going to be this.
No.
Period.
No.
This is the granddaddy.
So you remember the last time you see one of these, you probably never have.
No. Yeah, that's it.
It's very hard to find something within this caliber, within this age. You know, you got a lot of nice stuff out there. Look, you got Corniche convertibles. You got, you know, all these Jaguar convertibles, all these nice cars. But to find something of this caliber, it's virtually impossible.
Well, you're in the alumni of a group of people who had, you can't even call it balls, it's like a couple of chrome bumper hitches, to take the best mark in the world back then.
Right.
You had a bunch of people
100%.
that'll jump in with a Sawzall now.
Yep.
But back then, it was a big deal.
Huge.
To cut into the best. You had to be And first, you better do it right, because whoever bought the car spent a whole bunch
You
of money
have one
on it.
time to cut it.
Yeah.
That's it. You have one chance and and that's what it is. That's why the tuners back then were really, to me, customizers. Because again, like you said, they were taking the cream of the crop, whether it be the Testarossas, the SECs, the 635.
It took balls to cut into that.
You took a chainsaw and you start cutting the roof off, manufactured a full hydraulic frame, strengthened all the body, the chassis. I mean, if you look at underneath this car, this is a unibody monocoque.
Right.
It does not have a frame. So they've done all kinds of reinforcements on the bottom of the car to make sure it's drivable, to make sure it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't flex.
How does it feel?
Feels amazing.
You have to go for a drive.
It truly feels amazing. And
I don't believe you.
well, we're gonna go.
I guess we're gonna have to
We're
go
gonna
there.
go for a ride.
I guess we'll have to go for a ride.
We're gonna
then.
go for a ride. So, one thing that I will tell you about this car is sometimes it's very hard to see through the windshield because you got like girls throwing their panties at you.
Now, with regard to, let's just say that I came to you with $85,000. Is that what it would take, maybe, to reproduce what we're sitting in, and what am I looking at?
I'm sure we can make it happen with that budget, including the car. We would definitely have to source. If you do want the convertible, we would have to source a Richard Strawman car that's in decent shape, enough for us to restore. You get things into like rust, you have things in bodywork, etc. But generally speaking, like there's different grades of leather you can go with.
Sure.
There's different grades of audio equipment. Rims and body kit's a standard. You want to go with the AMG, you got one choice. But, you can go with Italian leather, German leather, double stitched. If you want leather wrapped door panels, you want a leather wrapped dash. The finishings in the wood. This is a walnut. There's burl wood. There's zebrano
Zebra,
wood.
right?
So there's many variations of levels of restoration on a
Sure.
car. This one here, I used the finest leathers.
Now, what would that be, in your opinion, German or Italian?
So it depends. German leather and Italian leather has different texture. This one I went with German leather because obviously it's a German car. But there's different grades of German leather. The way the leather stretches, the graininess, how soft it is. So this is basically top notch when it comes to German leather. I took it a step further by doing all the door panels, the handles, the dash is leather wrapped. The top is the highest quality German canvas.
Right. Stay fast.
Yes. The headliner is real suede, not imitation suede. That's why you can smell the leather. I mean, it's just it smells like a leather factory.
It just smells great in here.
Yes, and that reminds me of is when I was a kid and I used to look in a corniche and you smell that Connolly leather. That's
Yes.
kind of that's what I wanted in this car.
That's what you got. Now, when you say the best grade of canvas top, is there a grade of Stay Fast? I thought Stay Fast was just top shelf.
It's basically
Hearts.
It's basically the best of the canvas material that you can get. There's thinner canvas, there's thicker canvas, and it depends on the area of the top. Sometimes you need to go with the thinner canvas where it collapses
to cover the bones.
Exactly. So if you have someone that's experienced in making custom tops, which my guy does, he knows exactly what type of canvas to put where. If you see the car with the top closed, it looks like it was manufactured from Mercedes-Benz.
Yes.
Nice and tight, no wrinkles. It's the way the back plastic glass folds. There's a lot of factors.
It's real Klaused. It's real.
Yes.
That's my nickname for incredible German engineering. Whenever I used to have an old BMW 2002.
Oh yeah.
This thing, man, I mean, it just loved the road. It loved getting up over 80 miles an hour. It loved turns because Klaus did his job. This car looks entirely Klaused. There's not one place on this car that you can go, well, what if? And if you go to enough car shows, you're going to see that. This guy has a fleet of cars with no in them at all. None at all. And it's really good to see people who really do this kind of artisan work still.
There's very few, but they do exist, and I appreciate, I do appreciate the compliment, I try to reciprocate the passion to my clients, and I try to give everyone the best advice, and I try to lead them in the right path. Mm-hmm. But again, as I mentioned before, what turns me on in car building is to truly find something that's a total time capsule, that's a piece of history, and to recreate it nowadays. And now all of these things from the 80s and 90s are starting to appreciate. The people are starting to understand that, man, there was a lot of time and money spent on these cars.
Right.
And I'm so happy that other people realize how much went into these cars and appreciate it.
So, look, Geoff. So, how was that ride with Shant, man? How was that ride, man?
I'm getting that. Hold on, let me step over here so I can hear you.
You got reception?
I got reception now. That ride was fantastic, dude. It's a time capsule. I mean, to be honest with you, I felt like I should have been talking on a brick phone. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. Hold on, I got one coming in. Hold on.
You got another call?
I had a call. Hold on. Hey. What you mean you lost 2 keys? Excuse me. 2 keys? How did you lose the garage key and the front door key? Put your mom on the phone.
Hold on. I got
a call?
Yeah, right. Shant. Hey, Shant. So, man,
what's up?
I heard you're the man of the 80s, man.
Well, I'm trying to be. You know how it is.
Man, so I got some partners from Miami, man. They're coming into town. Big deal. You think you can make something happen, man?
Absolutely. Send them down. We got the cars, we got the phones, we got the merchandise. We can make it happen.
That's what I'm talking about, man.
I'll
be in touch.
Pastel shoes.
That's it.
All right, man. I'll holler.
Have a good one, brother.
Hey, man. Thank you, man, for everything, man.
I cannot thank you enough, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Hey.
No doubt, man. No doubt.
Thank you, guys.
Man, class act, bro. Appreciate you, man.
Hey,
you guys. NTC.
You already know.